Well, there you have it. I think, just on a note, I think 2017 you will see a lot more 40K content. If that's something that is of interest to you, I just did the 10 Cadian Guardsmen. I was intending to do a lot more, and kind of moved shortly thereafter, and that kind of disrupted some of my content and hobbying. But I have 25 Guardsmen or more conscripts right now that I fully expect to have finished by probably like January. Definitely within the first week of January. Like they're just a couple days away. I'll probably even work on them today. But 2016 was definitely a better year than most. I certainly hope you enjoyed those pictures. Been in the hobby a long time. This is definitely the most productive that I've been in terms of painting. I started the year off strong. My goal is always to paint some sort of unit every month, and I did that for a good 8 months. Kind of the latter part of 2015, the beginning of 2016, and I kind of fell off a little bit when I moved to Colorado, and starting to get back on that though. Excuse me. I have been painting fairly regularly, both in November and December, but I kind of got a little bit focused on something maybe I shouldn't have, and that was the Death Lords. In some ways, like painting and YouTube are almost the same way, because when you finish a project, you can kind of get it out there, you get some critical response, it's really encouraging, you're highly motivated to continue working on things. YouTube's almost the same way. Like, after the move, I really was producing maybe like a video a month or something, and you can kind of lose that momentum. Same thing with painting. If you're not completing projects, if you're not receiving the positive reinforcement, it's kind of difficult to kind of motivate yourself to kind of do it. I do think so. I finished the Death Lords for Holy Havoc at the beginning of November, so I painted quite a bit towards the end of October. But I wasn't super thrilled. I know I received a lot of positive feedback, and that was great. Very, very encouraging. But I kind of rushed those in some sense. Like I was painting those things like an hour before the tournament, and they weren't fully finished. And so I spent more time on them throughout November and into December. It probably didn't even matter. Like I don't even know if like the people that saw it at Holy Havoc, like Vince, might not even really recognize any much difference from what he saw. I think the ghosts, the spirits on those models were greatly improved insofar as they were really very basically painted for Holy Havoc. And I did a couple other little details here and there, but again, I don't know, I probably focused on that too much. I really have a hard time moving away from projects that I feel can't, if they could potentially be improved. I think I'm trying to do that a little bit with the Guardsmen, because I have so many Guardsmen and so many Free Guild that if I tried to do my best paint job on every single model, I won't accomplish that much. And the reality is, as many of you know, I have a legendary amount of unpainted models. So I really need to... I want them to look good, but perfection is probably the enemy of just, getting them finished to... What I would like is just a good, fairly high tabletop standard. I'm not looking for display quality or something like that. I just want them to look good, and not be too disappointed, because I am very self-critical of them. But I think that there's always some way to improve, and I think that that's part of the lesson from where I started in 2015, where I, truly started in earnest to try to paint using the conventional techniques of, base coats and layers and washes and highlights and stuff like that. So for Holy Havoc, I did paint an additional 50 skeletons. Those were not pictured in the video. In part because those truly were not finished to any meaningful level. There's a lot more work that needs to be done on those. They're fine just for gaming purposes, but I would spend a bit more time on them. If I work on a Death Rattle army at some point, if it comes up in my projects, I will definitely brush those up a little bit. But for now, I just want to progress and move on. I think in some ways, working on those models from Holy Havoc, continuing on, was kind of not motivating to complete other projects. So I really wanted to work on the Cadians and the Free Guild, but I knew I had to work on these other models that were somewhat complete, but not quite complete to where I wanted them to be. And that was a little bit, it made me kind of drag my heels a little bit on them. Like it probably drew again that project out even further, because I was like, I really want to work on this other stuff, but this stuff's not quite done, and so I wasn't painting as much as maybe as I should. Now, toward the latter half of December, I have been putting in some decent hours, 2 or 3 hours a day working on them. And as I said, in my last video, I really do want to produce a lot of models in 2017. The Cadians and the Free Guild alone are 150 models or so a piece. And there are just so many projects and so many armies that I want to get painting that I need to push myself to finish them and move on. So, yeah, if you're keeping track, I did paint 215 models in 2016, which is great. But here's the kicker. I bought 448. Jeez. So, oh well. A little disappointing. But it's much better than most years when I was, buying a few hundred models and painting 0. So, I need to cut down on the deficit. I really do think 2017 will be a good year from that, because I'm not going to deviate from these projects. I'm going to try my best to not wander and buy random stuff. I'm going to stick to my projects. Anything I buy for the projects will get painted, and painting these Imperial Guard and Free Guild models will help in that regard, because, like I said, I owned a bunch of these beforehand. So even though I bought some Free Guild and some Imperial Guard, once those projects are finished, there should be a net gain. And I fully expect that there will be some sort of net gain in 2017. I would love to paint 400 or more models in 2017. That's something that I would really like to do. Definitely over, on average, more than one per day. There's a lot of tanks, Imperial Guard, and things like that. But I definitely, that's kind of my goal. And definitely try in 2017 to paint a lot more than what I buy. I'm always going to buy stuff. I can't, because there's no way I can sit down and just paint for the next, X number of years without buying models, which is about the only way to as quickly reduce the deficit that I have, which is, as many of you know, something like 3,500 unpainted models. But if I can get ahead of that edge a little bit, and do that for the next 5 or 6 years, I'll eventually cut it down. But anyways, have a good one, and I'll do a hobby journey video maybe this afternoon or the next day or two, and I want to talk a little bit more about what my plans are for 2017. So thanks for watching, and have a good one. Bye.